All right, so I'd like to welcome you all here tonight to the Beef Leader Project virtual session. We do have a bit. I definitely have a line of what we're going to follow. Just want to start by doing the pledge. So if you guys unmute, I don't expect you to stand up, but if you just unmute and we'll do the pledge. I pledge my head to clear
thinking,
heart to
heart to greater loyalty,
my
my
hands
hands
my
learn to
hands to
service,
service,
my
my
health
health
to
to
living,
better living,
my
my
love
my
love,
love
my
for
community,
my community, my country,
country,
and my world.
my world. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm Tracy Dietrich, program coordinator for 4-H Alberta, and I handle a lot of the project stuff, your resources, working with the provincial committees.
Since I take my mic down and it's quiet.
And Juanita, I'm going to mute you. There we go. And anything, and along with me, our Chief Program Delivery Officer is Suzanne Stone. And here, the 1st of September, we had Sydney Walsh start with us. She is also program coordinator, and she will be looking after a lot of the summer camps and member programs. So what we're going to start with is talking a little bit about the project standards and what the expectation is. So as a project leader, we expect you to become familiar with the standards that that your project is. And that's for the completion and or competition. Projects such as beef, equine, sheep, salt have 4-H project 4-H Alberta project standards. If the project you're leading doesn't relate to you. Project standards guide the operation of 4-H projects for consistency among clubs across the province. 4-H provincial volunteer advisory committees review and guide the updates to the 4-H project standards. 4-H members and leaders must be aware that clubs, districts, and regions may have additional rules or standards above the 4-H Alberta project standard. So I'm just going to share with you the beef project standards.
Tracy, there's somebody else that needs to be muted. There's a lot of background noise coming through for us.
Okay, maybe this one. Can you still hear it? Maybe it's me. My house is a little loud tonight. I've tried to shut the door, but okay, so now you're looking at the 4-H Alberta beef project standards, and they talk about at minimal, this is what we've set out, and this is done in consultation with the 4-H Alberta Beef Advisory Committee. There's the minimum requirements. Regardless of the 4-H level of show, a registered 4-H project must be shown only by a registered 4-H member in good standing. Please reference to the 4-H Alberta Youth Member Standards. And this just needs to be updated to say the reference manual. Just, you should probably make a note of that. If a 4-H member is unable to show their beef project animal due to medical, a family emergency, or other reason that the club, district, and regional achievement day showing committee deems acceptable, another registered 4-H member will be allowed to show the project animal. The project animal will be eligible for all confirmation classes and the rate of gain. The project animal and its showman will not be eligible for showmanship, grooming, and other scale classes. Priority for proxy showing will be club members first, followed by district, and then regional members. Your project animal must be identified with a CCIA or RFID number. All project animals must be identified as the 4-H members project by having a registration paper, bill of sale, or lease agreement in the name of the 4-H member, and one or more of the following required by the club, district, regional achievement show and sale day committee: a 4-H tag, breed registration tattoo, 4-H tattoo, or electronic identification. Replacement of animals can only be done with the permission of the club, district, regional, and achievement day show and sale committee and must meet project criteria. All project animals with testicles are prohibited from showing or selling. All project animals with horns exceeding 2 inches from the hairline are prohibited from showing and selling. Feed and care and management of your project animals. 4-H members must personally provide the major part of feeding, care, and management for their market beef project animals. 4-H members must take an active role in the management, care, and feeding of a beef project animal. In the event a 4-H member has 2 residences, the 4-H club will ensure that the active role is realistic proportion to the time spent at the specific residence. Project options and rules. All projects must be registered with the club by December 31st of the current club year. Beef breeding projects, heifer raised for show and bred for production. Members may register only one yearling heifer project. The yearling heifer project must be born in the calendar year in which it is registered as a 4-H project. The 2-year-old cow calf continues is a continuation of the heifer project to a 2-year-old. All 2-year-old projects must have completed the cow-calf record book insert. 3-year-old is a continuation of the cow-calf, and same must have a completed cow-calf record book. This is the final year of a beef breeding project, meaning the 3-year-old is the final year. Market beef projects. The market beef project animal must be born in the calendar year in which it is registered. The market beef project animal must be on feed for a minimum of 160 days. Market beef live steer, both testicles removed, or heifer to be raised for show and slaughter. Each market project is expected to be sold as per guidelines of the respective club, district, and regional achievement show and sale committee. Members may register only one market beef live project. Market beef live projects must show in order to be marketed by public auction. Market beef carcass steer, both testicles removed, or heifer to be raised for slaughter, carcass evaluation, and sale, marketed through private means. The beef pen, minimum of 3 market beef or beef breeding animals, if sold, can only be marketed through private means. No individual market beef live project animal nor market beef carcass project animal may be included in a member's pen project. And then there also is a novice beef project, and this is a calf born in the calendar year. It is shown and raised for show only. If registering in the novice beef project, the participating member may not register in additional beef projects. Beef creative options, a self-designed beef project which has club approval. The project cannot be marketed at the 4-H sale. Creative option beef animals can only compete against similar creative beef option animals. And then there also is the beef green certificate that is available. 4-H sales committee must register their sale with area coordinator by March the 15th. 4-H members can only sell a single market beef live project at their local Achievement Day sale by public auction. Any 4-H animal that is marketed using the 4-H brand is required to be registered 4-H project with a completed record book. Additional beef project animals or projects will not be sold at the local Achievement Day sale. Members can sell additional projects through private means outside of the Achievement Day event or sale. Regardless of the number of clubs to which they belong, a member may only sell one beef project animal at a public auction per 4-H club year.
Hey, Tracy, sorry,
Yep.
there's a question from Bertha. Do Cleaver member animals require ownership papers?
Probably not, because that a Cleaver member is not technically a member. So they wouldn't have to have ownership papers. Is that thanks, Jocelyn. I can't monitor that, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Additional beef project animals or projects will not be sold at the local Achievement Day sale. Members can sell additional beef projects through private. Oh, I read that one. Regardless of the number of clubs, I read that one too. Events beyond the local Achievement Day must be a member in good standing in order to attend an event beyond a club. In the event a project animal is sick, injured at the local level Achievement Day, a veterinary certificate is required for the animal to be shown at a district, regional, or provincial event. Tranquilizers. The use of tranquilizing products on 4-H animals immediately preceding or at any 4-H project event is prohibited. Any animal that is tranquilized cannot be shown or sold at a 4-H event. Any participant or member of a participant's family can make a protest to a member of the club, district, and regional show and sale Achievement Day committee responsible for the show regarding suspected use of tranquilizer. The club, district, regional achievement show and sale committee must deal with the protest immediately by contacting a veterinarian who will inspect and test the animal. If the animal is deemed to be tranquilized, the member will be required to pay the veterinarian costs. The member will forfeit any awards and cannot sell the animal at the 4-H sale. If the animal is deemed to not be tranquilized, the protester will pay the veterinarian costs. Unmanageable animals. A member's animal that has become unmanageable on show day must be housed in an adequate enclosure to contain the animal until it is removed from the facility or brought under control. If the animal is removed, it may not be sold at that event. If an animal is brought under control, it will be sold at the discretion and the direction of the club, district, regional achievement show and sale day committee. Safety must be the primary concern. Medications, feed additives, and tranquilizers withdrawal times. Medications, some feed additives, and tranquilizers have withdrawal periods listed on their labels according to the dosage given. It is the legal responsibility of the owner of the animal to be sold for slaughter to ensure that the withdrawal periods have passed. If the withdrawal period has not passed at the time of sale, it is a responsibility of the member to tell the club, district, regional achievement show and sale day committee, and the responsibility of the club, district, regional achievement day show and sale committee to communicate this to potential buyers. Animals that show drug residues at the time of slaughter are condemned. 4-H event safety. Safety is and will continue to be the priority of any level of achievement. It is strongly recommended that members wear appropriate safe gear, for example, leather boots when working with and showing project animals. Club, district, regional achievement day show and sale committee have the authority to remove dangerous, unsafe, or unsound project animals from 4-H classes or events. Members, parents, and leaders are required to abide by the 4-H Alberta Code of Conduct. 4-H members attending 4-H achievement events or other project events must have a designated responsible adult present at the event. Club or interclub 4-H project regulations. In addition to the 4-H Alberta minimum requirements, there may be additional regulations from the club, district, regional achievement show and sale committee. Club, district, regional achievement day show and sale committee will provide any additional local requirements and clarification. It is the members' responsibility to know these rules and regulations. If due to unforeseen circumstances, a member is unable to finish a 4-H project in the traditional accepted manner, the club, district, regional committee, and or club leadership, along with the 4-H member, need to consider and explore alternate methods that support a successful completion of a member's project. 4-H Alberta provides a safe, fun, and inclusive environment for our members that is supported by caring adults who recognize that in trying times, 4-H can also be flexible and accommodating to best serve our positive youth development focus.
Okay.
All right.
So there's 2 questions out of the chat. One, do the breeding animals have to be owned by the member, or is leased okay?
Yes, lease is okay. That's what we have in the project animals. All project animals, a registration, bill of sale, or a lease agreement in the name of the 4-H member. So that applies to the breeding projects.
And then how do you prove ownership for homegrown or off the parents' herd?
You don't need to prove ownership. I mean, the parents can give them a bill of sale to their 4-H members, right? And that proves ownership.
Yeah, that's what we've done. And then just clarification, someone had asked if you can use heifer for carcass, as Jay said, for the provincial competition, only steers, but I do know that some club and districts will allow heifers in their own competition if they're not provincial.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just ask for clarification on that as well? So if somebody does a heifer as a market project, do you have to also then do like when showing in your achievement day, do a heifer market class and a steer market class separate?
You would have to. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Did anybody have any other questions?
That was all in the chat for now.
Perfect.
All this information we can take off the website, correct?
Yeah.
That you just read?
Yeah,
Okay.
the standards are on the website under the beef project.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next screen is mine, and then I'm going to pass it on to Jay. So you can see here what resources are available. Most projects in the beef project is lucky. There is a leader's guide. It's a bit older, but it still can be used. The 4-H Learns, the Canada 4-H Learns site has some stuff. 4-H Alberta, we have a YouTube channel that the back committee has done a number of videos on feeding and a few other things, and it is there for you guys. And when we go back to chat, I'll put the YouTube channel address in there so that if you then you can easily find it. Member resources, there is a project guide for members, the base book, which is part of your record book, and then you have your project inserts. The market and carcass are the same inserts, and then a yearling heifer, and then your 2- and 3-year-old market project insert books. I know there has been a number of questions about why can't the 2- and 3-year-olds carry on from the heifer book, and I really don't think there's any reason why they can't. You just kind of, if you put a tab in your book, you can leave your yearling heifer insert in there and then just add your 2- and your 3-year-old. Club tools that are available on the Staples ePrint. Well, the first one isn't available on the ePrint site. There is a weigh-in sheet, and it's in the download section on the website that you can use. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can print that off for whoever in your club or your district requires that. So it's there. This year in the ePrint site, there is stall cards, purchase agreement forms, and then of course judging cards and oral or written if you need that for your achievement day. All right. So the next thing is provincial advisory committees. And I think Jay is going to step on and talk a little bit about their role.
Okay, well, hello everybody. I'm Jay Good. I'm the chair of the Provincial Advisory Committee. Provincial Advisory Committee really has two roles. One of them is to oversee and organize the provincial carcass steer competition. We have a subcommittee that does that. We have representatives from every region who look after that. And then the Beef Advisory Committee is to act as a go-between between 4-H Alberta and the regions and the club level. Information from 4-H Alberta back down to the regional and district and club level, and then concerns going back up that chain back towards the provincial or 4-H Alberta. I think that pretty much sums up what we do. What we are not the police. We do not come to your show and enforce rules. We do not make rules for your shows. We create guidelines for the project as a provincial standard, but as far as your individual shows go, all clubs, all districts, all regional shows, they're all autonomous. They have their own set of rules. As long as they follow the basic project guidelines, we're good with that. I think that's about what Beef Advisory Committee does. Isn't that about it?
Yep.
Okay, good. I passed.
Was there any comments in the chat, Jocelyn?
No, we're good now.
Okay. All right. So tonight we have Amy Peck here that's going to just give us a few brief things about Canada Beef, but she leads the public and stakeholder engagement team, which works to increase public trust in the Canadian beef industry by supporting industry synergies, forming strategic partnerships, and connecting positively with consumers and the public. This includes addressing industry issues by coordinating key messages and specific responses together with provincial and industry organizations. Promotional content and campaigns are also developed that highlight the benefits of beef production in Canada. So welcome, Amy. I will stop sharing my screen in case you have something that you would like to share.
Sure do. I have a short presentation. I'll keep it short and sweet because I know we're all short of time on evenings. But thanks so much, Tracy, for inviting me on here. As Tracy said, my name is Amy Peck, and I do manage this program called Public and Stakeholder Engagement. And so hopefully you've heard of at least one of these two identities, either Canadian Beef or Canada Beef and the Canadian Cattle Association. So Canadian Beef represents beef as the product. They do marketing in association with food service and retail. They also do international markets and trade. The Canadian Cattle Association is the lobby advocacy group for beef farmers and ranchers across Canada. And together, they jointly deliver this program called Public and Stakeholder Engagement. So it's a national checkoff funded program, similar to Canada Beef and the Beef Cattle Research Council. And we were really created out of a gap in reaching public audiences, looking at issues that could potentially erode public trust, and really started out of the climate change conversations and the eat less red meat for the environment conversations. So really our aim is to increase public trust in the way beef cattle are raised in Canada. We know that they are good for your health, it's good for the environment, and there's economic and societal benefits as well. So we do issue management nationally. on things that could impact public trust. We create proactive content, and then we also create resources for industry advocacy. So that's mostly what I'm going to focus on, hoping that these resources could be good for the beef leaders, but I think also could be really interesting for beef clubs and 4-H members as well. So on the issue management side, I have a lot of producers that send me articles that talk about eating less red meat, or, you know, why methane is so bad for the environment. And I can promise you that I've seen it before. So we have quite intense media monitoring tools that are picking up anything that's talking about the environmental impacts of raising beef cattle. And we also implement tools that do social listening. So we all know how creepy social media can be with your targeted ads that come up. And you're like, how did they know I was interested in that? We really utilize it to measure conversations about beef, the product, but also beef cattle online. And we do some other assorted activities as well. We put together key messages. So, you know, for instance, in December of 2021, we had an atypical BSE case. So a lot of our work was around contacting media organizations and saying, you know, can you please not refer to it as mad cow disease in any of the titles, because it's actually a distinct and separate disease. So that would be an example of something that we're doing. We write letters to the editor. We do a lot of spokesperson training so that we're equipped in the best way possible to deal with these issues. Then in terms of industry advocacy, we do a lot of public survey work. And the thing that we know and see again and again in different surveys is that farmers and ranchers are the most trusted voice in Canada when it comes to where food comes from. That's who Canadians want to hear from. So really for us, the focus is ensuring that beef producers feel equipped to speak about how raising beef cattle can promote public trust. And so we know all farmers and ranchers can talk about what they do on farm and how they're raising beef cattle. We're really trying to tie it together in a way that resonates with public audiences that have no knowledge of agriculture, where beef comes from. So we've done a lot of testing on these messages to make sure that they're understood by the general public and that they actually improve positive sentiment. So we have fact sheets on a variety of different topics. Sorry, my light goes off when I sit too long. And some of these are on climate change. There's some on methane. They're even all the way to halal or kosher slaughter. So if you're ever in a situation where you're going to take a media interview or you're going to be asked to speak on a topic, we'd love to help you prep for that if you feel you need it. And these fact sheets are available in both languages. We do a lot of introduction to media training, just equipping people to feel comfortable, whether that's TV, radio, or print publications. And then, of course, I'd love to talk about beef advocacy. I love that you also have a BAC acronym because we call this our BAC program. But you can find it at beefadvocacy.ca. It takes about 3 hours all in all to go through. There's different modules and you can save your progress at any time. We've had a lot of success with people in the food service industry. So servers taking the course so then they can answer any questions about beef production. You know, don't all cattle get pumped full of grain? And they can say, no, 80% of their lives are spent on grass. So there's a ton of those sorts of nuggets in beef advocacy. It takes you through the beef supply chain all the way. And then, of course, those tested key messages on what Canadians want to hear about in terms of the benefits of beef cattle. In terms of our proactive content, we've had a lot of success with short form documentaries. So I'm hoping maybe one or two of you have heard of Guardians of the Grasslands. This is sort of our flagship project that we launched in 2019. It's been very successful, going to film festivals right across Canada. And that was a strategy that we used to kind of break out of the echo chamber, make sure we were reaching audiences outside of agriculture. So it was actually chosen for environmental film festivals out in Vancouver, which is a really great audience for us. And we've continued in this way. So we have another short documentary. It's called Too Close to Home. And it talks about targeted grazing for wildfire reduction. This was pilot projects happening in BC. And then this year, we've launched another short documentary. It's called Reduce, Reuse, Ruminate. And it's all about the upcycling ability of cattle to consume either damaged crops or ugly produce, distillers' grains, all sorts of things like that. So we found that by tying something that is being discussed in popular culture, so whether that's endangered ecosystems, is that wildfires, is it food waste, and how can we tie that back to the benefits that cattle have? So instead of trying to make people care about cows, because you generally either care about them or you don't, a lot of people care about food waste and they're interested to see these innovative solutions, and anytime that you can take, I think, something like potatoes and instead turn it into beef, I think that that's a real win-win. And then a lot of times we're taking influencers out on farms. So this is a popular Alberta influencer on Instagram. She brought her kids out. This is on a ranch just west of Calgary at Sherry Copperthorne Barnes Place. So really trying to get to those influencers and show them the reality of what cattle on native grasslands looks like, and getting a lot of really great feedback on that. And then lastly, we work on classroom resources. Gen Z is a very important audience for us, and we hear a lot about some of the classroom pieces that kids are coming home with that talk about diet, carbon footprints, or, of course, eating less red meat. So we'd love to have some resources to combat that. So we've worked with Agriculture in the Classroom Canada, and we have beef-specific resources in every province, but especially in Alberta. And then just this last year, we've developed this game, and it's the Guardians of the Grasslands game. So your player gets to pick their breed of cattle. They get to pick their water layout, so whether they have a pond or a river or stream. And then they're actually creating a bit of a grazing plan. So if they're moving their cattle at the right time and leaving enough grass behind, they're earning carbon points and learning about carbon sequestration on grasslands. And then they're also getting wildlife species and learning why each species of wildlife relies on a keystone grazer. So is it a nesting bird that needs those various levels of grass? And then they're sometimes having to manage their grazing plan depending on what's happening with the wildlife. If it is a burrowing owl, they are encouraged to skip that paddock for now while they're nesting. So just showing the ecosystem management that goes into having cattle on grass. And it's connected to curriculum outcomes, and that's grades 7 to 12, depending on the province. I think it's 7 to 10 here in Alberta. So would encourage you to use that game. So there's this longer school version game where the kids have to answer questions about native grasslands, about cattle as a grazer. Or there's a public facing one, which is about a 2-minute game. You don't have to answer any questions. You can just move your cattle around, and it's lots of fun. So any players kind of grade 6 or under, we like to have just that easy peasy game. So free resource for anyone to take and use in any way that you would like. So I've put some links up there. Raising CDN Beef is our main homepage. That's where you could find any of the short documentaries. They're just all up on YouTube. Beef Advocacy, of course, is that advocacy training program. For instance, if you were going to be on the cattle trail at Calgary Stampede and you thought, I might get a lot of questions from the public about beef production in Canada, it's a really great prepper for you. And then GOTG, so Guardians of the Grasslands Game.ca is where you can find the classroom version of the game. But then if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email is for sure the best way. And it's just pecka@cattle.ca, and love to help you with any questions around public audiences, public trusts, beef production, and making young producers the very best spokespeople they can be. So thanks so much, Tracy. Happy to take any questions.
There's one on the chat. Can we share the links from your website to social media and other websites?
You sure can.
Amy, that was great. Short and sweet and a lot of information for leaders. The game has really got me interested because that seems to be what kids like to do, right? So I think that'll be a cool thing that people could use if they wanted to. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's a kind of an abstract concept to talk about cattle and grazing. So we wanted something where any person, any kid could kind of take that role, put themselves in the digital boots of a farmer or rancher and see what kind of consequences or benefits there are to making those different decisions. So, yeah.
That's great. Nobody has any other questions for Amy? All right, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to run through our sponsors, and then we can go to questions and answers. So we, of course, you guys have all heard it. We would like to express our sincerest appreciation to our provincial partners and supporters for their continued investment and support of our programs. Thank you to the Diamond Clover sponsor, the Alberta government, and our Emerald Clover sponsors, Alberta Recycling, Eltalink, ATV, Calgary Stampede Foundation, CPA, Chartered Professional Accountants, and UFA, our Gold Clover, AFSC, Silver Clover, Cargill, RBC Foundation, and Save on Foods. Bronze Clover, Alberta Beef Producers, Federation of Alberta Gas Co-ops, and PV Mart. Green Clover is FCC, Farm Credit Canada, and White Clover, LIS, Livestock Identification Services Limited. So we would like to thank those people very much. So now we will just move into questions and answers now. If anybody has some, where we've got Jay, Jocelyn is also here, she's on back, and myself, and we can try and answer any questions that you have, or if we don't know the answer, we'll definitely find somebody that would.
Jay, there's a carcass question in the chat for you.
What's the question?
So carcass program, we have an interclub carcass program, same as provincial rules. We just process up Ponoka family needs. Could we join the program as well?
You're certainly more than welcome to enter the provincial competition. You would be part of the provincial competition then. I don't know if we would get the steers processed at that particular site. If we needed to find more space, I'm sure we could find it. We may use that site. Yeah, if you want to, there is no upper limit on the number of steers in the provincial carcass competition. So yeah, if you wish to enter the provincially, go ahead.
Probably best if you want to send the dates that you slaughter, or that you like to slaughter, to see if it fits in with what we've already got going on. And I guess that's probably something I did miss on the slides, was the extra two provincial events that we do is the provincial carcass competition, and also the provincial beef heifer show. So if anybody needs an overview of what the carcass competition is, or you don't know, we could give a quick overview on that.
Amanda has a question. We have parents questioning how the beef standards are going to be enforced along with our additional rules for the show and sale. How do you suggest we approach this?
So you're wondering who's going to enforce them? That
Amanda on somewhere that can explain better?
because you should have a show and sale committee, which is traditionally made up of leadership from the club or from the clubs that are involved in the show and sale. And those would be the people that would enforce the rules. Like, I mean, you would enforce the rules as a group. Does that
Each show and sale committee should have their own set of bylaws that fall in line with the beef standards.
right? Does that answer your question?
Okay, I don't know. Stacy is asking, is there funding available for districts to help with show and sell or only funding available for clubs?
Like 4-H Alberta doesn't provide funding for achievement days. So that's something that you need to discuss as a show and sale committee, how you want to raise funds for your achievement day.
Jay, Katie's asking, I guess more, can you explain the carcass program?
Sure.
Do you want me to pull up I can pull up the criteria on that, Jay.
Sure. So the provincial 4-H carcass steer competition, I think it's going into its 8th year. Does that make sense, Tracy?
Yeah, about that.
Okay, 8th year. And what it is it's a coordinated effort amongst all the regions to have a competition for these steers, carcass steers. What the goal is to create the ideal direct-to-consumer carcass. And then we have a set of criteria that have been fairly thoroughly researched as to what makes the best direct-to-consumer carcass, along with there's been input by restaurants and wholesalers and quite a few different aspects of the industry on this. You register the steer. Then we'll set up a slaughter date for that. We have cattle are slaughtered at looks like about 10 different locations that we have right now. There's delivery dates there's harvest dates, and then there's grading dates. The cattle are graded by a federal grader, Oscar Lopez Campos, or Lopez Campos. He has been grading all the steers himself, so that we're getting a consistent grading between all the different plants. Therefore, we have to be kind of coordinated in when we harvest these cattle and when we grade them. I mean, we can't have him grading in Medicine Hat and Beaver Lodge the same day. That just doesn't work. So we've got to build in some time there. We take about a month to get these cattle harvested. You are responsible for paying the cutting and wrapping at the place where they're harvested, and it's your beef. You do what you want with it. You can sell it. You can do whatever you like with it. Those animals aren't sold through any 4-H sale. And then at the end of the year, we will have a wrap up with guest speakers, and we'll hand out some awards. There's also a genetic component to this, where when you register your steer or weigh in your steer, we'll ask you to take tail hair samples. We'll send that away and get DNA testing done on your steers, and you'll get the results of that back, so you know some more of the genetic component of your steer. and it's a growing project every year. We grow. We're currently running about 110, 120 steers across the province. But if there's interest for more, we'll make room for them.
That information can be found on the website as well, that page you just shared, right?
Yeah, it's on the member programs page, and it's at the very bottom. There's a livestock section, and it's there.
Kind of jumping back here, Amanda's questioning again. Right, but we do have a show and sale committee, but wondering how we tackle difficult situations.
Well, Amanda, I'm not sure like what you're referring to, and you could certainly call me about what a difficult situation is. That if there's rules laid out and somebody doesn't want to follow the rules, or exactly, but if you want to call me anytime, we can talk about that.
Okay, well, it's bedtime. I'm only here for 2 minutes.
Okay, she says she'll give you a call.
Yeah. And then I see one here that they're asking about if members are over 18 who are attending post-secondary in another city, are the care and feeding expectations for them the same as they would be if they had 2 residents? You would expect that they would be the same, but I would, if they're 4-H members that have gone away to school, they're in college or university, but they can still play a really important part in your club. That just really needs to be talked about at a club level about what the club expects from that 4-H member. It's best to discuss it at the very beginning of the year. You know then that they're gone away to school. So if they intend on joining, I think the expectations should be laid out right at the beginning of the year. And I wouldn't necessarily say that they shouldn't join. I think they're a real benefit to a lot of clubs, and it's one of those things, if you can make it work, I would suggest that you try your best to do that.
And I know some also do it as not necessarily maybe beef specific where they have an animal, but I know some do more of a, what's that, leadership project within their club.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Things that they would maybe like back to look into or do. The back committee is quite active, and they've done some pretty nifty things and are always looking for new things to do. So this is definitely a great time to suggest something to them.
Tracy or Jay, should we maybe just talk over the rule that we changed in the 4-H reference guide? Just clarify that for everyone. Around sales and checks and.
Yes, please.
Oh, that one.
I forgot about it. No. I got the reference guide here. I will pull it up and we will peruse it. I'm just gonna find it.
Just because I know there's a lot that probably don't know that one.
So the thing to remember is the reference guide is a living document, which means if you printed something off last year, it may not be current this year. So you need to keep checking back with it. So in the reference guide, it was very vague about sales and how to handle them. So what we did was we tried to clarify it somewhat. So we recommend that the clubs and districts, whatever the achievement show and sale committee is, we recommend they use an intermediary such as a dealer or an agent. if they're available to handle the money. However, you can also run it as a district committee, that's fine. Or sales can also be made directly to the member or through the club or district if required. Whatever works for you guys. Again, we're not the police and we're not trying to make difficult rules. Payments to the members are to be made in as timely a manner as possible. Terms of the 4-H sale are cash on sale day unless prior arrangements have been made with the club, district, or whoever's overseeing that committee. This is to try and bring us in line with the Livestock Identification and Commerce Act, which regulates all livestock sales in the province. One thing we've added in order to kind of support that the payments are made in as timely a manner as possible is that clubs, district, and regional achievement show and sale committees cannot withhold funds for failure to complete member requirements. Short version of that is if the member doesn't have the record books done, you can't withhold the check. In Alberta, according to the Livestock Identification and Commerce Act, there's 48 hours from time of price discovery until payment has to be made. Of course, we can't do that with 4-H sales, just the way that they operate, but we can also make sure that as soon as the money is available from the committee or the dealer, that the member gets paid. That means that you might have to come up with some other way to make sure that the member is in good standing by the time of the sale. That pretty much cover our changes, Jocelyn?
Yep. There's no questions. We did a good job. See?
Or they're loading up right now, one of the two.
Does anybody have any more questions or comments?
Bertha Caswell here. You're suggesting a third-party deal with the money on Achievement Day. That's just a very big added expense to like, kids aren't expected to pay that, I assume, and then it'd be an added expense to that region, that club's or that district's sale day. So anybody thought ahead of how to raise the money to pay for that?
Well, all we're doing is suggesting that you use one. If you've got a committee that's working well now, that's fine.
Okay.
So what happens there is because if you were to use a licensed dealer, if somebody was to default on paying, then in theory they would be able to cover that kit's market steer. But right. if you guys don't feel that that's a risk, then there's no reason that the committee can't continue to do it.
I guess, yeah, in the Westlock district, we do have a slush fund just in case.
Well, yeah, okay, so you guys are covered.
Yeah, but, you know, for other people, I just wanted to throw that out there that it will be an added cost. And
some auction markets will do it for free. Some will do it for a very, very reasonable fee. I don't think many auction markets that are willing to do it would charge full-blown commission on it.
No, probably not, but food for thought. Thank you.
Okay, in the chat we have, so now we got our questions around it. If a member does not do the 70% or mandatory activities, can we tell them they are not allowed to show or sell their calf? Or if they're not in good standing prior to the show and sale, they can't show or sell.
Well, that's one of those things that if it's in your bylaws or however you have it in your bylaws or your constitution that says You know, if up to a certain point in the calendar, if you haven't attended 70% of the activities, then you're not, you cannot sell your calf, show and sell your calf. That's up to your club how you want to handle that, but you have to make sure that it is pretty, that it is not pretty, that it is really clear in your constitution or your guidelines that that is the rules that you're going to be following. And you make that clear at the beginning of the year.
I think the way that we've got it is that it really doesn't matter to Beef Advisory Committee if, from a money point of view, if that kid is in good standing or not. We're just saying you can't hold the check.
Yeah. But as a show and sale committee, that's a decision of that show and sale committee. But yes, like Tracy said, has to be very, very clear at the beginning of the year and not brought in May that this is what you're going to do. Okay, and one more question. Is there any minimum or maximum weight at weigh-in?
4-H Alberta doesn't have a minimum or a maximum. That would be brought in by your show and sale committee if there is one.
For members that live in town and still want to be in Beef 4-H, what do you suggest for involvement?
Is there a leader that wants to touch on this, or another leader that's had experience with this? Because I look at it as they still have their expectations that they're going to be feeding and doing the majority of the care for the animal, and that, I mean, their involvement is still that they have to halter break it and get it ready to come to the show and sale, the same as any other 4-H member. There, Jeff, your hand is up. Do you have a comment on that? You just have to unmute, Jeff. Maybe he didn't want to talk.
Or can't figure out how to unmute.
Yeah. I don't think I can't unmute him.
I think each club in a lot of cases makes their own decision as to what level of involvement there is and what standard, and it should be agreed upon by the whole club so that members that are doing daily feeding are okay with the member maybe not doing daily feeding. But it should, yeah, as long as the club's in agreement on how much and maybe there's a set amount of what the expectations are in advance. If someone says they've had experience with this, the member expectations were the same. They bought a steer and paid yardage, etc., and went out to the farm every day.
Yeah, so their expectations are the same as any member, right? Thanks, Cindy.
And I think, is it Jeff there? Says he can't unmute.
Can't unmute. I can't help you either, Jeff. I looked.
What's the number on the phone? Anyone know? Is it 0? No, I don't know. So he says our club does allow members to live in town and have their steers at another member's farm, but still participate. We had issues with grandparents or extended family doing all of the work, and the kids were still scared of the calf at show. And then Jeff says, members are to halt, break, feed, and do all the work, just live away.
Yeah.
And I think, Jolene, to your answer with issues of grandparents, extended family doing all the work, that's something that you can only control so far. You can't, unless you're living with that kid, you can't totally do anything to fully control a parent or grandkid or somebody else, sibling, doing the work for them. He says, we make the kids fill pails for a week and halt to break work with their calf. My kids help by daily feed. Their owners help do the chores like clean barn when they are there. The members are just more intense for less time that they are with the calf. So that's someone that's in that situation. So they go fill pails for the week, and then somebody else can help with their daily feed if they're unable to, essentially. But then they help extra to make up for it. So I hope that answers Stacy's question.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions or comments, I said I wanted to keep this to about an hour, and appreciate you all coming. But just if you do have anything that comes up, don't hesitate to send me an email or send your back representatives email, or and if you don't know who that is, talk to regional council and they'll direct you in the right direction. So anyway, thanks everybody, have a good evening, and good luck getting everything started this fall.
Perfect.